In this video, we will be going through the expansion of Rome from a small city-state to their peak under Trajan, going province by province. Now keep in mind, Rome's provinces often shifted, especially when Rome started to decline, so we will only follow the development until the peak of Rome and pause there. We start our story in Italy, obviously. Starting from a small outpost in Latium, the Roman city-state was formed, being heavily influenced by Greek culture and religion. Initially, the city was a kingdom, starting with King Romulus, who supposedly created the city with his brother, Remus, before bashing his head in. Rome was then ruled by a string of 7 kings, before deciding that kings are cringe, becoming an oligarchic republic instead. Over the next couple of centuries, Rome slowly consolidated control over their surroundings, before expansion began to truly kick into high gears, soon taking over everything south of the Rubicon and Arno rivers. This gives us our first province, Italia. Technically, Italia wasn't a Roman province, being the homeland of the empire and all, but it would be very weird to leave it out. But from this position of power, Rome was ready to go further. A diplomatic spat around the city of Syracuse led to the First Punic War between Rome and Carthage. This war would be absolutely devastating, but after decades of tough fighting, especially at sea, Rome's victory would see their first real province being created, Sicilia, in 241 BC. The creation of this province was a big deal, as Sicilia was explicitly treated as different to the rest of Rome's conquests so far. While Rome wasn't yet ruled by an emperor, from this moment on, we can say that Rome had an empire. Their administration began to reflect this as well, with praetors being assigned to rule over the island in the name of Rome. Especially in the early days of the Roman Empire, Sicilia was a major province to supply food for Italia. Another province was integrated a mere 3 years later. The Carthaginians only had to cede Sicilia to the Romans in the peace deal, but a rebellion of mercenary forces saw Carthage lose control over Sardinia and Corsica too. Rome, never one to let an opportunity for expansion slide, soon took over these islands as well to create the province of Sardinia and Corsica in 238 BC. Wait a couple decades later, and then it's time for Scipio Africanus, the man who will truly destroy Carthage. In the interwar years, Carthage had consolidated control over Hispania to ensure that they could stand up to Rome in the next war. Under the leadership of their own badass general, Hannibal, the next war would see the Carthaginians rampage around Italia, while Scipio would lead an invasion of Hispania, eventually leading to the full collapse of Carthage's influence in that region. After Scipio then began an invasion of Carthage proper, Hannibal had to depart Italia, only to be defeated in combat as Carthage surrendered, destroying Carthage's influence in the western Mediterranean. In Hispania, 2 new provinces would be created as a result of this war, Hispania Ulterior and Hispania Citerior, both in 197 BC. In the following decades, Rome would expand their borders to the Alps, though the new status of this territory was unclear for quite a while. In Hispania, the 2 new provinces would be massively expanded as well, but in the east, Rome would come into conflict with the Macedonians. Through an outpost in modern-day Albania, Rome had been involved in the region for a while, but it simply had enough of Macedon's constant attempts at expansion. After the Third Macedonian War, Rome consolidated the region into client states, but following continued Macedonian resistance, the provinces of Epirus and Macedonia were created in 148 BC. Right around the same time, the Romans were truly done with Carthage now. Carthage would be dealt with permanently as Rome conquered the land, burned the city and salted the earth, before creating the province of Africa in 146 BC. After massively expanding the Hispanian provinces, again, Rome also got a foothold in modern-day Anatolia. Rome had long since held influence in that region via client states, but upon the death of King Attalus of Pergamon, the king willed his entire kingdom to the Romans upon his death, resulting in the creation of the province of Asia Minor in 133 BC. Over to the west, Rome had long desired to connect their Italian and Hispanian lands, so Rome began with their conquest of Gallia Transalpina, also known as Narbonensis, leading to the creation of a new province in 121 BC. Then, following some expansion in Africa, the region of Gallia Cisalpina became their own province in 81 BC, rather than being controlled as a part of Italia. The next province to be added would be Cyrenaica in 74 BC. Previously controlled by the Egyptians, it was willed to the Romans by King Appian upon his death, as Egypt was increasingly falling into the Roman sphere of influence. Sorry for the quick interruption, but by far most of you aren't subscribed yet. To keep up to date with the 2 videos I release every single week, please consider doing so. Thank you. Now we are entering a period where 2 great conquerors would push Rome further than ever before, the first of which being Pompey. First, there was a massive expansion of the province of Asia Minor, as Rome's influence spread across Anatolia and the Levant, while in terms of provinces, Cyrenaica merged with Crete to create a new province. Pompey would bring Roman influence all the way to the Caspian Sea by subjugating Armenia, and a new province, Cilicia, was created covering southern Anatolia. In northern Anatolia, a new province called Bithynia and Pontus was created as well. The final new province created thanks to Pompey was Syria. Pompey's conquests took place over decades, but all these reorganizations and province creations happened in the same year, 64 BC. A territory that had long been in limbo was Illyria, long since under Roman control, but never gaining a clear province status. This was until it was joined with Cisalpine Gaul in 59 BC. On the seas, the island of Cyprus was then willed to the Romans by the Egyptians, creating a new province there. But something greater was about to happen. As the next great conqueror was about to reveal himself, and where Pompey went east, Caesar would focus on the conquest of Gallia, and within a decade he would seize the entirety of the region for the Romans. Along with the expansion of several older provinces, Gallia Aquitania, Gallia Belgica and Gallia Celtica would be created from the conquered Gauls. Furthermore, Caesar would abolish the province of Gallia Cisalpina, returning the territory into Italia proper in 42 BC. But from here, the conquering had to come to a temporary halt, as our 2 great conquerors, Caesar and Pompey, faced off in a civil war, one that Caesar would eventually manage to win. Ruling as dictator for a while, Caesar's rule wasn't to last however, as he was assassinated by Roman senators. This would kick off another civil war, this time with Mark Antony and Octavian hunting down the assassins of Caesar. Following their victory in this civil war, it was now Mark Antony and Octavian's turn to face each other, with Egypt siding with Mark Antony. Upon Octavian's victory in this war, Egypt would be turned into the latest Roman province in 30 BC, and it would become one of the most important ones at that, crucial for Rome's food supply. Octavian, now the first Roman emperor, gained the title Augustus and would oversee the transition from Roman Republic to Roman Empire. In doing so, he would go on to massively reorganize the Roman administration. In Gaul, the provinces of Germania Superior and Germania Ulterior were created to serve as Rome's border provinces. The border of Gallia Belgica would be reorganized, Gallia Aquitania would be expanded, and Gallia Celtica would become Gallia Luganensis. Over in Greece, the province of Epirus would be split, creating the new province of Achaia. Over in Hispania, the 2 previous provinces would be abolished, as Hispania Tarraconensis, Hispania Lusitania, and Hispania Baetica were created. In the east, following Augustus's campaigns in the region, the province of Illyricum would be created. In Anatolia, a Roman client king would pass away, leading Augustus to create the new province of Galatia in 25 BC. During Augustus's campaigns to the north, he would create the provinces of Raetia and Noricum in 15 BC. A year later, he would also reorganize the Transalpine provinces, creating the provinces of Alps Maritimiae, Alps Cotidae and Alps Puinae. Over in the east, the province of Judea was an interesting case. Officially, it became a province in 6 AD, but the Jewish kings retained much autonomy as client kings, despite their status as a Roman province. This autonomy would only be fully lost in 70 AD. Still, officially, Judea did become a province in the year 6. Working to further secure the Balkan, the province of Musia would be created in 6 AD as well, and a couple of years later, in the year 9 AD, Illyricum would again be reorganized, now becoming the province of Dalmatia. Slightly further north, Augustus expanded his empire even further, creating the province of Pannonia in 10 AD. This would be the final of the reorganizations done by Augustus. The death of another client king in Anatolia would see the integration of a new province, Cappadocia, in 17 AD. Following the creation of this new province, there would be a short period of calm in terms of Rome's provinces. Until Rome turned their attention back to the west, invading the British Isles, leading to the creation of the province of Britannia in 43 AD. At the same time, the territory known as Mauritania was finally integrated into Rome. It had long since been under Roman influence, but now the provinces of Mauritania Caesaris and Mauritania Tingitana put them firmly under Rome's control. In the Balkan, a client king was assassinated by his own wife, leading to Rome taking charge of the territory, creating the new province of Thrace. In 74 AD, the new emperor Vespasian would oversee the creation of the province of Lycia and Pamphylia, and his son, Domitian, would oversee the split of the Musia province into Musia Superior and Musia Inferior in 85 AD. From here, we are very close to reaching Rome's provinces at their peak, as we only need to cover the reign of Trajan, who created our final provinces to finish with. In the east, the province of Arabia Petraea was created in 105 AD, a year before the Dacian campaigns would see the creation of the province of Dacia. Around the same time, the province of Pannonia was split as well, creating Pannonia Interior and Pannonia Superior in 107 AD. Then finally, Trajan would go on a massive campaign against the Parthians in the east, creating our final 3 provinces. As you may have noticed, Armenia has went back and forth between being a Roman client and independent ever since the days of Pompey, but now Trajan finally integrated it as a province in 114 AD. Then there's the territory of Mesopotamia, centering around the Tigris and Euphrates, and the province of Assyria, both becoming a province in the year 116 AD. With these 2 final additions, we now have the province map of the Roman Empire at its height. And with that, this video is over. I will thank you all for watching, consider leaving a like and a comment to support the content, subscribe for 2 more videos every single week. To continue watching, click on one of the 2 videos on screen now. Again, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.